Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. We are very privileged to have author William Allmon with us.
Good to be here. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I'm the author of a funny book about U.S. Navy SEALs and their unabashed humor. And I did 23 years in the SEAL teams. I was in SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 4, SEAL Team 8, Red Cell, and U.S. Naval Special Warfare Group 2. And so I did a lot of training of guys that are in the SEAL teams as well. Training, it's never ending, actually. When you're a SEAL on active duty, you're constantly training. 28 weeks of training to get through BUDS, which is basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And then you go on to go into the teams. And then in the teams, you'll be there for probably another 8 months to a year, going through all kinds of courses that you're going to specialize in as a SEAL. And so you're looking at a good year and a half, 2 years of training before you're put into a platoon and then sent off to do missions around the world. They can vary because it depends on where you're going to be assigned or what team. Each team has an area of responsibility in the world, and that's why there's so many of them. But so each team has their own little area of responsibility and where they're going to go and what they do and what they train for.
Is it anything like you see in the movies?
Those SEALs make crappy actors, I'll tell you right now. There's some truth to some things. Like G.I. Jane, when they start kicking your food off the table and you see people shoving food in their pockets that they can eat later. Yeah, that's kind of on the true side. And being dumped on all the time, like Hell Week is where in training, when you're going through BUDS training, and it's 5 days without sleep. And you start to hallucinate around your third day. And we were out in the little rubber boats that you see us paddling in some of the movies, and stuff like that, 7-man boat. And we're out in the Pacific Ocean paddling away because you go like down about a mile or 2 miles paddling to come in on some rocks and stuff like that. So during our paddle down in the ocean, one of the guys yelled out, "Train." And we all jumped out of the boat into the water because we did not believe him. He saw a train. He's just hallucinating. Wow. But it's just, so it's funny and it's stupid, but it's like, train, okay.
Right.
I'm freaking middle of the ocean. So a lot of that stuff is funny, but it's just a way of weeding you out. Hell Week is the worst part of it all because a lot of guys can't deal with the cold, the wetness, and lack of sleep. So the sleep deprivation part is a good way of weeding out guys that don't have their mind set on actually going to become, a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, well, it takes a special kind of person for that kind of thing. So, I mean, that's like they just break you down psychologically, right?
Yes, they do. They do. So, and they tell you, you can quit anytime you want. SEAL is a volunteer unit. You don't have to stay there. So, you can quit anytime. Just ring that bell and you'll be warm. Give you a hot cup of coffee, whatever you want, hot meal. You can go to sleep. You don't have to take this stuff. Just go ring that bell and quit, You don't have to, you're running, you're tired, you're freezing, you're soaking wet, you're full of sand. They take sand, they dump it down inside your pants, and everything, so there's no place you're not sandy. And so just go ring the bell. You don't have to subject yourself to this. You can quit, so they're always on you to quit. And they want the guy that doesn't want to quit. That's all.
Oh, of course. So yeah, you've taken the dark side of your experience and you've changed it to humor. Yeah. So I've got to hear more about the book.
Well, the book is it's all true stories, by the way. The names were changed to protect the innocent, except for mine, and because I wrote it. I had some guys in the SEAL saying, "Hey, leave my name in there." I go, "No, no, we're not going to use payback stuff through the years. You know, it's." So I altered a few of the locations because some of that information had to be protected, and I didn't want to write about tactics and things like that we use because I don't want to help the enemy out.
Right,
So if you want to know what kind of idiots we can be, read my book. There's a part in the book where there's a jealousy between the two coasts, the East Coast and the West Coast. West Coast is Hollywood frogmen. East Coast are the deployed devil dogs of the earth. You know, so anyway, West Coast, you're a puke. East Coast, you're an operator. There's no difference between the SEALs. There really isn't. The training's all the same. It's just rivalry between the two coasts is all it is. So I decided one day I was going to learn Spanish because I was at SEAL Team 1. Mexico's right there. So I figured, what the heck, you know? This is long before they had any other teams. The only teams that existed at that time were SEAL Team 1 and SEAL Team 2. And then they had UDT units, underwater demolition team units. But so I decided, heck, I'll go to Defense Language Institute up in Monterey and learn how to speak Spanish. So that was logical to me. So I went away to the school, and lo and behold, they transferred me to the East Coast. Go figure. Well, at that time, they were forming up. They were taking all the UDT teams and making SEAL teams out of them because they didn't really need the underwater demolition side, although you're trained in that as a SEAL. So why not just make everybody SEALs? So that's what they did. And one day, boom, boom, everybody's a SEAL. So at that time, it was early 80s and El Salvador was going on. So I was sent down to El Salvador and for the war because I spoke Spanish. And I'm getting to the humor side. So while we're down there, the media was blocked from going to certain parts of the country. You couldn't go there if you're a part of the media. And but you got your daily briefings from the U.S. Embassy, which was in the capital, San Salvador. I was all the way in the south in La Union, and near the border where Nicaragua was and where Honduras was. And one day, I'm coming back from a training exercise with the commandos that I was training, El Salvadorian commandos, and I see this pickup truck that had TV taped on it. And here comes a cameraman and a reporter, and she stuck a microphone in my face and said, "Here we have it, proof positive that Americans are involved in combat operations in El Salvador." Oh, my Lord. And I knew she had no right to be there. The embassy would tell me if somebody was coming down, anybody was coming down. Mm-hmm. So I knew she had no right to be there. She goes, "What do you have to say for yourself?" And it was Leslie Stahl. I don't know if you remember Leslie Stahl.
That name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, she was the one that was on the microphone. So I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you a full personal interview if you just shut that camera off right now, shut your tape recorder off. And I just want to talk to my guys. And I'm going to sit right here and I'll give you a full interview." And she said, "Okay." So I see the light go off on the camera. She shuts her recorder off. And I turned to my guys and in Spanish told them, "Arrest them." So they arrested them, took all their stuff, and I smashed all their video stuff.
Oh,
just
wow.
Destroyed it all to hell. And I locked them up where we hold prisoners of war. Mm. And so she's screaming and she goes, "You're going to be in so much trouble. You can't arrest an American citizen." And I go, "Down here, you're not a citizen. You're subject to the rules of war and the articles of war that are going on in this country. You have no idea how serious the problem is, that the depth of the trouble that you're in." I called the U.S. Embassy and I said, "I've got 2 reporters down here, cameraman and Leslie Stahl." And they said, "They're not authorized to be there." And I says, "Oh, I took care of the problem. I got them locked up. Can you send a helicopter down to pick them up and bring them back to the Capitol?" They're going to do that. And they told them they're going to send them out of the country. They're going to be gone. So I said, "Well, how long do I have to wait before I can expect the helicopter?" And they said, "Well, it'll be there in about an hour at the most." And I said, "Okay." So I went to my intel guy, who was El Salvadorian, and I told him, this is what I want you to do. I want you to scare the living hell out of them. And so they said, okay, good. So they went to him, and thank God he could speak English. And he looks at him and he tells him, you're going to be shot for treason against my government. You're spying. You are international spies. No, we're not. We're Americans. No, you're spying, for the enemy forces. You're providing them information. He goes, I have intelligence that says this. You went down through all these roads here. And he did get that information, where the roads where they came. And he goes, you're going to be shot. And I says, don't shoot him. Don't shoot him. He goes, okay. We'll throw them from the helicopter. Okay, that sounds all right. And Leslie Stahl's going, you're okay with this? I says, it's his country. I'm just an advisor here. Okay. I have no authority other than to train his troops. That's all I'm here to do, is to train their troops. I am not authorized to go on combat missions. Nothing. I'm just here to train their troops. And so the cameraman guy, he's crying. He goes, I've got a daughter. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And I says, well, I'm glad you're sorry, but it is what it is. And so the other, Leslie was going, you can't do this. You can't do this. And I says, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything. He's going to do it. So at this time, you can hear the helicopters coming in, and I says, is there anything that you want me to say or pass on, to the U.S. Embassy or anything like that before you guys go in the helicopter? And she's going, you're not serious. You're not serious. I know you're not serious. I go, okay. Like I said, it's not me, it's him. So we had him handcuffed, put him in the back of the Jeep, and we're driving out to Estado Mayor with where they land and take over, or the helicopters land and they take over all the other people. And so they're waiting there, and here comes the helicopter. And then it's starting to sink into her. And she goes, I've made a big mistake. And I go, yeah, you have. She goes, is there anything you can do? Is there anything you can say to him to help us? Please, we're Americans. As one American to another, please help us. And I said, I can't, I'm sorry. And so helicopters landing, the other guy's crying hysterically, so I unhandcuffed them, and turned them over to the guys, the El Salvadorian helicopter, but the pilots were American. So when they saw the pilots, Leslie turns around and starts doing this to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, that probably something they'll never forget.
Well, they were out of the country that day, but it felt so good, man. The news media. Yeah, I got you.
What motivated you to actually start writing?
Yeah. To write a book, if you love rejection, write a book, try to get it published. If you're into rejection, I cannot tell you, maybe 200 rejections of my book before the lady from Pimpin Press read it. And she goes, is this in any way the truth? I said, it's the whole truth. It really is. There's no lies in this book at all. Everything in there is the absolute truth. And she goes, I'm going to publish that. I said, well, thank you. But what got me to do it, to answer your question, was, people sit down and people in our line of work, police officers, emergency room people, firefighters. I mean, firefighters are a strange breed because they run into burning buildings, and they deal with the charred death of bodies, women and children, men, everything, animals. And I'm sure they don't go back home and then read a book on firefighting. I mean, the challenges of a firefighter, and stuff like that. I felt that people that see the horrors in life would much rather laugh, find the humor in it and laugh. And so that's what I did. And I knew that we did a lot as SEALs as far as laughing at each other. I remember one time during a firefight, I was arguing with my SEAL brother next to me. We were fighting back and forth, not verbally arguing, but we were trying to get cover behind a tree. During this, the bullets are flying and everything. I'm pushing him out of the way. He's pushing me out of the way, and we're fighting for cover behind this tree. Mm-hmm. The tree was this big around, and no bullet would stop it, or no tree would stop that bullet. And it was just a thin little tree, but it was your little home, and that alone is funny. And one of the guys, we jumped into a bomb crater during a firefight, and he goes, "My foot's in the air. It's going to get shot. My foot's in the air. And, shit, I'm shot. I told you guys, and we're laughing at him. It was funny." And I'll tell you a really good funny story is we were on a patrol, and one of the guys, nature calls. Okay, it's not just pee. Sometimes you got to take a dump. Right. So the guy says, I got to go to the bathroom. We're looking at him. Well, just, lay down on the ground, take a piss, and so you don't make noise, And so he says, no, I got to take a dump. So, oh, okay. Do your business. So we set up our security, and he's digging a hole to bury it in, and then he's squatting over the hole. Well, he took a shot in the nuts.
Oh no.
And we all hit the ground, and we're looking around where the next shot's coming from, but it never came.
Oh my gosh.
And he's screaming in agony, and we're looking for any bullets that are going to come, and none of them ever came. And so we got out of there with him, and we started laughing our asses off, because think about it. This enemy soldier took the time to aim at his nuts. Could have aimed at his head, but he aimed at his nuts.
Oh my god!
And shot him in.
Oh no!
He lost one testicle, so of course, we nicknamed him One Nut. So he had that name for the rest of his life. Whenever you see him, David, you say, "Hey, One Nut, how you doing, man? Hey, doing good, man." True story. Funny as hell, but it's just there's humor in combat. There really is. And so that's what I try to concentrate the book on, is the humorous side of things, so that you laugh about stuff that was crazy. Another time was in Vietnam, and we had 2 VC coming down the river. We had intel that they were going to be there at such and such time, and so we're waiting a long time in the water. You're up, to your neck in water, and you're just waiting. And of course, it's getting close to dawn now, and we thought he's not going to come, but we got the intel he's going to come. So you sit there and wait, and sure as shit, you see him coming. So we opened up with machine guns on these 2 guys to kill them. And you got to stop. If you ever shot at water, you know how it splashes up and everything. Right. So imagine machine guns, all that water going up. You can't see anything, so you got to stop shooting. So we saw one guy, he's floating face down. We knew he was with blood and stuff, so we knew he was dead. But the other guy swimming to the other side of the river. And so we started shooting at him again. Then you got to stop, because you got to see where he's at. And he continues shooting and stop, shoot. Finally, he makes it to the other side, and he's waist deep in muck and mud. He's trying to move real slow, and he can't really go that fast. So he realizes, that we got him, so he turns around, looks at us, and he's yelling at us in Vietnamese, on his chest, and he sticks his hands out, instead of shooting him, we just we didn't shoot him. The officers said, "Hey, he made it all that way, good on him, what the heck, it just wasn't his day to die." So we could have killed him, but we did. It's just sometimes you got to admire that, the bravery of that guy to turn around, don't know what he yelled, but pounding his chest, stuck his arms out, like, go ahead, do it, just, nah, that needed to be respected. War to me is the ultimate last resort. When you're young and in a specialized unit for combat, you actually do want to go to war. You want to see if this training that you've got really does work. That's your youth and your ignorance. But after you've been in battles and you've engaged in the enemy and stuff like that, been shot at, been wounded, whatever, you realize that this is serious stuff. This is for keeps. You're killing somebody's brother, somebody's father, somebody's mother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, whatever. They have a family like you. And a wise officer once told me, the enemy is fighting for everything that he believes is right and just. So are you. Can you tell me who's wrong?
Right.
And it was so profound, and he's right. He goes, that's why you never try to moralize war. Don't try to sterilize it, moralize it in any way. It's an ugly, ugly business, and it should be the absolute last result, of anything. So, yeah, you understand that after a while. You grow up and you realize, it is the last resort, and it should always be the last resort, and it should never be glamorized, and it should never, there's no glory in war. There's nothing poetic about it. It's just life and death, and it's ugly. And if people would realize that, they would also realize that we need to really get along together.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do to get along together. Let's make it work, because in the end, it's going to be very ugly, and we don't want it to be ugly. We want it to work. So we need to look for something that can help us get along and not be so hateful toward each other. And I use hate as a word that I don't understand, because the enemies that I've shot and killed, I didn't hate them. I didn't even know them,
Right.
So how can I hate somebody I don't know? I know he's killed my brothers, some of my SEAL brothers. I know he's tried to kill me, but I'm trying to kill him too, And so I might dislike you, despise you, but I won't hate you. That, to me, that's the ultimate word. And you really have to have a justifiable reason for hating somebody so much, because that to me is an ultimate word. But we really need to figure out ways to get along, and political differences, to dislike someone because of that. Come on. Everybody's got an opinion, positive, negative, whatever. I'm glad you have an opinion. I'm glad you're passionate about your opinion, but don't dislike me because of my opinion.
Exactly.
I'm not wrong because I have an opinion, and it differs from you. Don't attack me that way. You can both have passionate sides of an argument, and you can agree to disagree, but in the end, let's just respect each other.
I mean, this is not a cliche. I really appreciate your service and what you did for this country.
It was an honor for me to serve and help out in any way I could, anybody that I came in contact with around the world and in the U.S.
If people want to get your book, where would they go to find it?
Amazon. U.S.
Amazon.
deals and their unabashed humor.
Do you have social media people can follow you?
Other than LinkedIn? No.
Anyway, Mr. Allmon, or should I say Billy, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Your stories are funny. I've got to get this book. So one more time, what's the name of it?
U.S. Navy SEALs and their unabashed humor.
All right, on Amazon. I want to see if I can find the link to that, and I'll post it in our description. Once again, thank you, and I want to thank everybody out there that watches and listens to us and supports us. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network